This video is sponsored by Trend Micro. So a lot of you know I got a MacBook Air with the M1 processor a while back, and I've been doing some videos on it. I've really been enjoying it. But one of the things that, of course, some of the people in the comments said, and things I even mentioned, was that some of the things that you can do on Windows, you can't really do on Mac OS. And while there have been options on the older versions of the MacBook, like the Intel version, such as Boot Camp, to get Windows on it, really couldn't do it on the M1 until now. I installed Windows 10 on this sucker, and let me tell you something, it's awesome. This might be the best laptop out right now, baby. Let's go. And I'm going to tell you all about it right after this.
This is, you know you listening to Travis.
What up, players? Welcome back. And for all you new people, welcome. My name's Travis and I do tech videos every single week and have a blast doing it. If that sounds like fun to you, sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. Anything I talk about will be in the description below. But for now, let's just get into the video. So yeah, I talked about how the MacBook Air with M1 is one of the best laptops that you can buy. But of course, one of the things that kept coming up is if you need things that are on Windows, that it's kind of not that great. I mean, most things work on Mac OS, and gaming has always been a weak point of the Mac OS, but there are now solutions to that. But now, with the advent of Parallels adding support for the M1 processor, I can't imagine buying any other laptop at this price range. It doesn't make any sense. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. Let me tell you something. I'm doing a lot of videos about the MacBook Air and the upcoming M1 iPad. It's really absolutely changed the game. So make sure you hit subscribe and get on that journey with me. Let's talk a little bit about what this is. This is a piece of software you can purchase for your Mac that allows you to run Windows. Now, it allows you to run ARM version of Windows, which is basically in the testing phase. It's not a full version of Windows 10. I mean, I guess it is really Windows 10, but it's on the ARM architecture, which is what an M1 is. Now, here's the thing. You don't have to pay for it, which is great. You can just be a part of the Insider program and get that. And it's not exactly like native. You got to remember, this thing is being emulated. This is the Mac taking Windows and pretending that this is a Windows laptop and making it work. And the performance is still amazing. And if you want to do this for yourself, there's videos all on YouTube on how to put Parallels on your computer. I'll probably link in the description below to another channel's video. There's tons of it. It's super easy. I mean, if I was able to do it, y'all can do it for sure. But one of the choices you have to make when installing it is how much RAM you're going to give that operating system and how much processing power. So I have 16 gigs of RAM on this particular MacBook Air, and I wanted to give 8 to Windows, and of course 8 to Mac OS, and 4 of the cores to Windows, and 4, right down the middle. I'm trying to be fair about everything. And if of course you have the base level 8 gigabyte MacBook Air, I mean, you're giving 4 to Windows and 4 to, it's not going to be great. It'll still work. It's not going to be great though. Having said that, you have a fully functioning version of Windows on your MacBook. This is crazy. And again, for the people that have had Macs for a long period of time, they're probably used to this with Boot Camp and everything. But for someone like me that's new to it, this is really incredible. And the fact that it now supports the M1 natively with the power within, that excites me. And again, one of the things that makes the M1 so amazing is not only the performance, but the fact you get incredible battery life. And if you need to get over to Windows when you're in Mac OS, it's just a swipe away. That swipe action is so savage. I love that so much. It's so much fun to swipe between Mac OS and Windows back and forth. And yes, you can even download Steam games while they might not perform up to snuff. You've seen a lot of videos on YouTube about that. Not all of them perform exactly perfect. But with cloud gaming, that's not even really important anymore. You can do Xbox streaming on the Mac OS through your browser now. Like, you don't even need anything, any kind of video processor, graphics, GPU in this particular laptop to play anything on Xbox Live or anything on Stadia. So a lot of people are going to want to play newer games, and those are also available on cloud streaming devices. The only downside of that is if you're not near internet. Fine. But I doubt you bought a MacBook to play video games anyway. So for the occasional game, it's great. For all productivity now, whether it be on Mac OS or Windows, you have basically no excuse. And that performance I talked about, man, we're going to get into that. But even though you have Mac OS on one side and Windows on the other, you're still going to want to put antivirus on Windows because while it is an instance, it still could get a virus. So I talked about performance. And by the way, like I said, everything runs super fast, and all the things you're going to use an operating system for, like browsing and watching videos and stuff, you don't even need to install Windows for. I think there might be the occasional piece of software that you need to run on Windows, and it's going to run fine. And if you're looking to game, I'm going to highly suggest you cloud game versus anything else. or maybe not even buy a MacBook, I guess. But you might be wondering, like, how powerful can this thing actually be? Well, I decided to run my desktop, my AMD Ryzen 7 2700 with 16 gigs of RAM on Geekbench, and then compare it to this. Remember, I'm only using 4 cores and 8 gigs of RAM on this thing, so I basically cut it in half and ran an emulated software on top of an emulated operating system and compared it against my native Windows desktop that's powered by, like, all the things. 8 cores, 16 threads. These scores are quite interesting. Now, while you would figure the desktop would kick the booty out of the MacBook Air, that did not happen, as the scores for my desktop, at least the single cores, were way lower than the single core for the MacBook. And remember, I'm using half the cores for the dual core, for the multi-core score on the MacBook. It's right in line with my Ryzen 7 desktop-powered CPU. Bruh. That's not even to talk about the fact that this thing is a laptop on battery power, emulating an operating system on top of that. If you can't understand how impressive that is, I'm probably not the person to try to explain it to you. It's incredibly impressive. Incredibly impressive. For me, this makes the MacBook such an easy pick if you're looking for a new laptop. Now that you can actually install Windows and get great performance out of it, if you even need Windows, which I might argue you don't, but if you even need it, you're completely covered. Like, this is craziness personified. The quality of this laptop, the fact that it works super well in its native operating system. If you have iPhones, iPads, AirPads, iPads, everything, then of course the ecosystem has got you covered. Now I can already see the comment section now. Why would you put Windows on a Mac? Well, listen, some people need access to Windows. They just do. Doesn't mean it's a better operating system or anything like that, but it's just more prevalent, and sometimes we need access. So putting something like that on this, while maybe dirtying your MacBook to some people, actually brings this in line more with people who need a Windows, at least portion of their workflow to be accessible, yet want to try something new. Now, again, you are kind of gimping the processing of doing that. Of course, you're splitting it in half most times, but it still works ridiculously well. Like, it's crazy. And I think what it'll actually end up doing is if people feel like they can buy a Mac without risking losing out on some things in Windows, they will slowly find that everything they really need is in Mac OS and then eventually uninstall Windows. So this is a huge thing. I talked about how game-changing the M1 would be, but it wasn't something I was even thinking about, that putting Windows on here would be even further game-changing. Again, this isn't exactly new for Macs. We've been able to do this for a while. But the M1 and the further M versions of these processors are game-changing. So now that they work, let's go, baby. This is, without a shadow of a doubt, for under $1,000, perhaps the best laptop you can buy. And now with Windows on it, I just don't see the argument for anything else. So it almost makes you wonder, why would you buy a Windows laptop other than for something like gaming? Now, there are some gaming laptops that will beat the dog poop out of this thing if you're wanting to play games. So fair enough. But for the vast majority of people buying laptops, this is going to work. And again, bridging the gap between the operating system it comes with and maybe the couple of features they might need on Windows, including myself, I don't have a need for any other Windows laptops, perhaps ever again. Now, Windows is still in preview mode. There's constant updates. It's not even like the final version. We should see improvements there. Some bugs that existed a couple of weeks ago are now squashed, and we're continuing to see fixes. For me, the value proposition on this is so incredibly good. The battery life, the power, everything. And this is just with the M1. When the M2 comes out, bro, it might be game over for these middle of the road and even slightly high-end laptops that don't have gaming GPUs in them, because there's almost no reason to have them. I gotta say, Apple has really impressed me with this laptop. It's not something that I thought going into this would be something that I would love, but I kind of can't hate on the game. This thing is amazing, and I think you would like it as well. And for most people looking for a laptop, this is now my recommendation. The MacBook Air, or even the MacBook Pro with the M1 processor, is changing the game. If you're new here, make sure you hit subscribe. I have some other videos here for you as well, and I can't wait to see you next time. Peace and love.